All right, y'all, welcome to another episode of Story Time. I know I normally just do the basic intro, but I figured since my best friend is guest hosting again, we would have a little fun with it. So CJ, welcome back to the show.
I appreciate you. It's always nice to come and hang out with you and your friends.
Definitely. So you did your first episode with Brandon McGee, killed it. So I want you to tell me, how did you enjoy your first time on Storytime?
You know, it was a lot of fun. Had a really good time with it, especially seeing that Brandon is one of my good friends, one of my teammates. It was good to get to have a very candid conversation with him, especially seeing that he's just a good guy to talk to. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Enjoyed it, very much so.
And now you've caught the podcast bug, and I'm going to drag you into recording with me now all the time. So get ready for it.
I ain't got a problem with that. As long as people don't get annoyed with me, I'm fine. I like people listening to me talk anyways.
People love you. So today's guest is the amazing Kiara Nowlin, and you will actually be hosting the majority of this one. But for everyone listening, tell everyone, so you were familiar with her as well. So go ahead and say how you learned who Kiara was.
So for years and years and years, both Courtney and I were all-star cheerleaders. We spent a huge amount of time, in essence, hurling our bodies and breaking ourselves for fun all across the nation. It was great. We got to break ourselves in Vegas a lot, broke ourselves in California a huge amount. That was a great breaking, all over the West Coast and then over to Florida. But there are some people that didn't just break themselves. There are people that are actually good at this. And we just so happen to have one of the best in Miss Kiara Nowlin. She is one of the best to ever do it. One of the winningest cheerleaders of all time, and also a very, very interesting person overall. So a lot of us got to watch her win on SMOED out of California All-Stars back in the day. We got to watch her on a couple, TV shows, web series, things like that. And so now we get to know her a little better.
And I am so excited. She, like you said, is not only an insanely talented human being, but she is also just incredible away from tumbling and cheerleading and all of that. So everyone stay tuned and enjoy the episode. We are back with the amazing Kiara Nowlin. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. This is awesome.
No, you were saying before we started recording, you and I have been talking for years, since my iHeart days, I think like 2015, 2016. And
it's been a while, for sure.
Yes. So I'm excited to catch up with you. And we have CJ here. And CJ, you're going to run the show today. So I'll hand it over to you.
I appreciate it. Well, Kiara, it's absolutely a pleasure to finally actually get to meet you. We never actually got to meet in our time in the same sport for years and years and years. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to meet you.
So I'm going to kind of start with, we're going to start kind of going way back a little bit, because it seems that in your entire life, you've been very good in academia.
Yes.
Very good in academia. Tell everybody a little bit about your academic highlights for the last, 2 decades, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to forget some, but I'll start by saying that with my family, academics were the most important. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, if I wasn't doing well in school, which I always did, but it was definitely emphasized in my family that if I wasn't doing well in school, I would not be able to do gymnastics. I would not be able to do power tumbling. I would not be cheering. That was the number one priority. So I would say the thing that I'm most proud of is getting a scholarship to Baylor University to do acrobatics and tumbling. However, Baylor's a pretty good school. And so I definitely would not have been able to get in without having good grades. So while I was there, I don't know, I can't remember the official title, but I won some academic awards. And then now I'm actually earning my MBA. from Cal Lutheran University, which is in California. So it's an online program. I've been doing online school before COVID-19, but I'm in a program for working professionals. So I have a full-time job and I'm in school. But I think that's something that people don't know about me, is that I'm actually still in school earning an MBA. And that's really, really important to me to, continue my education. And I've always really, I think it became more so than ever, once I was able to start earning my MBA, to focus on that. And as an adult, I really find it important to do well in school.
That's fair. That's very fair. And so, in getting your MBA, first of all, what are you doing for your full-time job these days?
So I work for local government. I'm in the marketing department. So I'm in the marketing communications department as a communications specialist, but I'm kind of an extension of the parks and recreation department. Okay. So kind of the liaison between that department and the marketing department. So that's what I went to school for public relations. I've been doing more marketing, but I absolutely love my job. And it's tough to have a full-time job and go to school. I will say it's definitely tough, but I know that it's worth it.
So in the end, what, as I like to say, what do you want to do when you grow up? What's the ultimate goal for you?
That's a great question. I actually don't know. I love marketing. I love public relations, but I don't know what I want to do, like what's my top goal. Right. But I think I kind of like that for myself, because it lets me have an open mind. It lets me kind of explore opportunities. And I know that I'll end up doing something that I absolutely love. And I am now, but I know that the end goal is going to be awesome. So I love exploring opportunities and trying new things.
So if you could make up your dream job then, what kind of aspects would you put in there?
I like that. Okay. I think I would want to be like the CMO or chief marketing officer of some sort of fitness company, because I love marketing. I love fitness. I've been an athlete my whole life. I'm still into fitness, and just health in general, I think is super important. So I think that would be kind of the dream job.
That's solid. I like that for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of combining, things that two things that I love. I think that would be perfect. So if anyone's hiring for that role, hi, here I am.
But it seems like you're kind of already doing that and building your own brand, right? Because you've obviously been doing what you've been doing for your entire life, and you've done camps and things like that, and you've done all appearances and all these things. Tell us a little bit more about what that's been like, building your own brand over all of these years.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I started working kind of as I think they called it like a special guest or guest coach at Woodward, I think when I was like 10. Obviously, it wasn't really coaching, but I was just there as a guest to perform at, they kind of do a performance midweek, each, division. So skating and BMXing and gymnastics and cheer all do their own little performance to show everybody what we actually do. So I was invited to Woodward around 10. And then from there, I started doing clinics. Gyms invited me to come out and guest coach when I was like 13. So that was super young, but I had been doing the sport for such a long time that I knew what I was talking about. Right. And I think that coaches could see that. And I think they invited me to their gym just because I had a name and, I was a face in the industry. And then they were like, we're going to have a clinic. And I think they thought that the coaches would coach and I would just kind of be there. But I found a passion in coaching and helping out. And again, I knew what I was talking about. I had been in the industry for so long, and had great coaches along the way that explained things very well. And so I started doing clinics, and I did clinics every summer for like months at a time. I would go on the road. We'd call it a tour. I would go on the road. Sometimes we would fly, sometimes we would drive. I've even gone to like Australia, New Zealand, Sweden. So I've really done clinics internationally, and I love it. When I was in college, I stopped just for like NCAA rules, even though acrobatics and tumbling is not an NCAA sport. I think it's an emerging sport now. It wasn't at the time. We have NCATA, but because we were trying to get that NCAA status, I stopped doing all clinics. And then once I graduated, well, I did clinics here and there, but within the guidelines of the NCAA rules. And then once I graduated, I was able to do more clinics. I do still do them here and there. I just did one last weekend for a university. And so it's been really, it's been awesome being able to kind of impart my knowledge onto other athletes. And I think that I see things, or I'm able to maybe communicate things differently than some other coaches, just because I can do a lot of the skills and most of the skills that the other athletes are doing. So sometimes I kind of like to, I see an athlete, what they were doing, and then I'll do it myself and show them, like, this is what you're doing. I do the back tuck, let's say, and then this is how to do it. And then I show them the correct way. And so I think that's something that kind of separates me from other coaches. And I think that's why I've been successful in clinics, tumbling clinics. And again, I love being around the athletes. My all-time favorite thing is helping athletes get over mental blocks, which is so prevalent in gymnastics, acro, cheer, power tumbling. But I feel like I'm able to speak to them and say, hey, I travel all over the nation, all over the world sometimes, and everyone goes through this. At every single gym, there's at least one athlete. I've gone through it, other athletes are going through it, but then we're able to overcome that. And so that's my favorite part of clinics, is being able to help the athletes kind of overcome struggles and mental blocks.
I love that. And just to add in really quickly, you said you were going international even before you were in college and all of that, and you were still so good in school. So how did you balance like trying to be a, I guess, young professional, getting really good grades, and also just being a normal kid at the same time?
It was challenging. I have to give credit to my parents. They were awesome, so supportive. They tried to make me as well-rounded as possible, even when I was on the national team and going to Russia and going to France, and I still went to homecoming. I still went to prom. I missed some things. I missed some birthday parties, which was tough for me at the time, but they were awesome and just sacrificing their time and taking me all over the place. Again, school was the most important. So I knew that if I wasn't getting good grades, I could kiss all of my, athletics goodbye. So with that being said, I will say in my freshman year of high school was probably the toughest, because I was on the national team for power tumbling. I was on California All-Stars large co-ed for cheer. I was at a high school that was pretty academically rigorous. So with that being said, I would go to school. I'd wake up about 5:30 for school, go to school all day. And then some days I would drive an hour and a half to power tumbling. Other days, I don't think people know this, California All-Stars large co-ed was 3 hours from my house, no traffic. So then on the weekends, I would drive down to California All-Stars, practice Saturday, stay in a hotel Saturday night, practice again on Sunday, then drive 3 hours back home and finish my weekend homework. But then during World Week, well, really it was like World's Month, I would drive 3 hours every day after school, practice until whatever time, usually like 9 or 10, drive back home, and I would do my homework on the way there and on the way back, get home around midnight, wake up and do it all over again. So time management was my best friend. Like I knew, but that was the year I did the best in school, because I had no time I couldn't waste time. I wanted to be involved in all of it. I wanted to do well in all of it. So I just figured out how to manage my time. Again, my parents were awesome in helping me. And, when I did have time to get a tutor if I needed it, we would somehow find the time. Do not know how, because looking back, we're all like, that was crazy. But I was just organized. I knew what I needed to do, and I was just able to get it done with the help of my family.
Have you always enjoyed being that busy? Like, have you always enjoyed doing all of these things, or is that just something that after a while you're just like, I'm good at it, I'm gonna do it, but but the grind, when the grind's over, I can't wait?
I've always liked being busy, and I kind of thought everyone was as busy as me. Like that was just so normal for me. I thought everyone was traveling for sports and, you know, taking AP classes and things, I thought that was normal. So, but I've always enjoyed it. Also, my parents, every season after power tumbling would end, after cheer would end, they would ask me, is this something that you still want to do? I never felt forced to do it. Even in college, you know, when I got my scholarship, they said, hey, you don't have to do this. You can go to school. You know, you've done really well. And if you want to just go to school and be a student and focus on that, we'll support you. So I think it was, I every time I started feeling like overwhelmed or burnt out, my parents said, okay, she needs a break. We'll tell my coaches, hey, she's not coming to practice, you know, this weekend. Kid needs a break. And they really looked out for me in terms of just making sure that, you know, physically I was healthy, mentally I was healthy, and that I was happy at the end of the day. So I'm really lucky when it comes to that. But no, I've always liked being busy, and I just liked being good at things. And I knew that if I practiced, you know, I always wanted to be the first kid in the gym, last kid out. I wanted to do well in school. I just wanted to be successful. So I kind of just figured out a way to do that and juggle all of that.
And I mean, and it's the amount of success and the amount of things, right? That's one of the things that makes you very impressive. But the other thing is, for as long of a time as you've been in the public eye, you know, now especially, there are so many young women, girls that look up to you, right? How has it been, you know, with that responsibility for all this time? You know, how does that feel? How do you deal with the pressure?
I felt pressure sometime, and not to be perfect, but I did know there were eyes on me. I was definitely aware of that. But I was just kind of a good kid growing up. I think I was involved in a lot. So I didn't really have time to get in trouble. That was the best thing for me. I didn't have time to get in trouble. I was always involved. My parents are strict. I didn't want to get in trouble. I knew that I had a lot to lose. So there was pressure, but nothing. I mean, I didn't feel like it was stifling or it was overwhelming. If anything, I knew the pressure was keeping me on the straight and narrow. And I enjoyed being a role model, if you could call it that, for kids, or when kids would say, you know, I look up to you. I wanted to continue that because it made me feel good. I liked being a positive, I guess, a positive figure to look up to. I don't like saying, it kind of makes me feel weird, but to look up to, I guess. And so I just tried my best to be a good person, to be humble, to be kind. And I still try to do that to this day, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's okay. So the pressure worked out in you know, my situation.
Right. And so I guess one more little touch on pressure, not to go too far into the cheer world, but, you know, in 2012, 2013, you were part of a team that was, you know, maybe the most popular team in the entire world, right? There were a huge amount of eyes on you. There was a huge amount of, you know, media coverage in the industry. And especially seeing that it's such a big, you know, it's such an insular group, but it's such a big group. What was that like? I mean, because I know that people love to talk and people love to this and that. So what was that really like?
Yeah. And do you mean what was it like from my perspective, or do you want like the team's perspective?
Both, either. Give me everything.
Okay. So from the team's perspective, I think just being on that team, we knew we were good. Like we knew we were good. But I genuinely think we didn't know we were as good as we were. We were a humble team internally. It was humble. It was, you know, we win a competition, the coach would bring us back and say, hey, you won that one. That doesn't mean you're going to win the next competition. You won Worlds last year. That doesn't mean you're going to win again. So I think that kept us humble, kept us motivated. And we always had that underdog mentality. And I think I feel like I've always had that mentality. One of my favorite sayings is train like you're in second, but compete like you're in first. And so even though there was media and people loved us and tons of people would come to watch us, I think we knew, and I knew we still had to work hard because eyes were on us. And I know from my perspective, I think that, you know, a lot of people were really supportive of me, and I got a lot of, you know, it was always a positive experience for me, but I I kind of felt like if I mess up, people are going to talk. And the few times that I messed up, it was a big deal. And so I knew I needed to work hard because I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want people to talk about me. And I think as a team, we knew we needed to work hard and that we weren't promised anything.
Right.
So I think we handled the pressure well, but we just stayed humble. And me as an athlete, I always try to just stay humble and know that someone's always going to be better than you, but you need to work harder than them.
Okay. So what would you say if you had to look back at, a few of the big lessons you've learned through, all of your athletic career, through everything that you've kind of seen?
Yeah.
What are kind of some of the big lessons that, really have stuck with you?
Probably working hard. That's my number one. You work hard. I always thought in my head that someone's better than me, someone's training harder than me, someone is ready to take my spot. So I need to work hard and I can't rely on my talent. I'd like to think that I'm fairly talented. A lot of people would say, oh, it's so easy for you. And truthfully, I think it's easier for me than some people, but I didn't want to rely on that. I want to be the hardest worker. And I wanted to earn every single win that I got. So I think that working hard, staying humble, and just helping others in need of, like coaching. When it comes to coaching, being able to spread my knowledge and not keeping it all to myself, because I've had some great experiences. I've had some great coaches. I've gone to lots of gyms and, won titles. And so I want to pass that along. That's really important to me. And I think that's why I still do clinics. I want to pass it along and I want to lift others up, just like, my older teammates and coaches lifted me up.
So would you ever think about coaching in any capacity full time?
I think if the right opportunity came along, I would. I think I would be interested.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. There's TBA on that.
Yeah.
Another question that I had was, I guess, about the fitness world that you're breaking into, right? Obviously, you have a big platform to be able to do it on.
Yeah.
What really, as far as the fitness side, what do you want your impact to be in the fitness world? Because I know that it's a very it's a big place, and I know that you do your really cool gymnastics stuff on your Instagram and all those things. But when people, they look at your brand, they look at who you are and what you want to leave people with, what does that look like for you?
That's a good question. I think that what's most important, what I want people to see, is that you can work out, you don't have to be a gymnast or you don't have to be an elite athlete. You can work out anywhere, whether that's in your house, at a gym, outside. You can work out. And I try to take my gymnastics and cheer training and kind of put that into workouts that everyone can do. And, at a gym or even at home. So, and just teach them, because gymnastics and cheer training is quite different from, other, I guess, fitness avenues. So I want them to just learn some gymnastics and cheer training and exercises and be able to stay healthy. I think that's the most important, is you don't have to be in tip-top shape. You don't have to be the best athlete, as long as you're healthy and as long as you feel good. And I think feel good about yourself physically, mentally. I think that fitness is great. I think it keeps us happy. And so I think that's what I want people to see when they look at my page or look at my exercises is, hey, this is just to stay healthy and to stay happy.
I think during COVID, especially with all the quarantines and stuff like that, fitness is something that for a lot of people that maybe don't love fitness, love working out, it's something that has kind of fallen to the bottom of the list. I will raise my hand and say I am one of those that's just been lazy, unfortunately. But for everybody, including me, that wants to follow your page and follow your fitness programs and all of that, where can they go?
So you can go to @Kiara.Nowlin, and I also have Kiara Nowlin Fit. And so that's kind of my fitness page. And then I have my personal page that I do post some of the more, exciting tumbling videos on Kiara.Nowlin. So you can go to either page. Kiara Nowlin Fit will be more of the everyday fitness routines and exercises. But I think that what you said is really important about like how it's kind of fallen to the bottom of the list. But when I think fitness, and this is something I've been learning now that I'm outside of sports and athletics, is that, you don't have to go to the gym and do a killer workout for 2 hours. Just go outside, take a walk around the park, do a little 10-minute ab workout in your living room. And for me, I always thought being an athlete that I have to go out there and do this hard workout and be sweating and, feel like I'm so, tired by the end of it and sore. If I'm not sore, I didn't do anything. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't always think that's sustainable for everybody's lifestyle, especially me right now. I have a full-time job. I'm in school. I can't be doing a 2-hour workout every single day. So even if it's just a walk around the park, or like I said, an ab workout at home, just find something that makes you feel healthy and get in a little bit of fitness every day. I think that's what's most important. That's something that I'm still learning and still trying to remind myself.
That's very fair. So time for a couple of random questions, because I've been sitting here thinking of some random questions, and
Okay.
I'm going to throw a couple. So number one, favorite place you have traveled?
Sweden.
Why?
Love Sweden. Love the people. I think I just had great experiences there. Everyone was so nice. The camp I went to, I had a great time. The athletes were great. Sweden's absolutely beautiful. I would move there. I love it. Kind of random. I feel like a lot of people haven't been there. That's not always like the top place for people. I love it. Also New Zealand. I love New Zealand.
Okay. Where in New Zealand did you go?
I went to Auckland, and then I kind of traveled around, but love Auckland.
Is that where they did the Lord of the Rings out there, huh? Either Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. And
I think I know what you're talking. I'm not sure what. I haven't seen either.
You've never seen
No, I know.
Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones.
Haven't seen either.
Better question. Hold on. How old are you?
20. Oh, I'm about to turn 25 this week.
Wait, what day?
November 27th.
Oh, I will put it in my phone. I will wish you a happy birthday. I'm horrible with birthdays. You can ask CJ. It's like 11 o'clock at night on his birthday, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but I'll remember yours.
I tell all my friends now, I only have room for 3 people's birthdays in my head. My parents take up 2 spots, and then my friend with the like upcoming birthday is the 3rd spot. And then after that birthday's over, forget, my mom actually has to text me and say like, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday today. And all my friends know it's not, I love them. I'm just not good with birthdays. So if I forget it, they know that I still love, they'll text me like, it is my birthday. And I'm like, love you so much. Let's go to dinner. I'm so sorry.
My mom's the same way. She puts all the siblings in a group text, and she's like, all right, it's this person's birthday. Make sure you remember, because I'm the same way. And I had Facebook to rely on, but now they've updated it so many times. I don't even know where the birthdays are on Facebook. And so I'm right there with you.
I just rely on my mom. She texts me. She still gets the birthday notifications. So I go, text me, tell me, help me out.
Love it. Is there anything you want? Is there like one certain gift that you want for your birthday this year?
That's okay. So I just bought a house. So I asked my parents just to get me like things for the house or like a gift card. First, I don't want to ask for anything because I feel so blessed, and I feel like they get me things throughout the year, and I'm like, I don't need anything. But if you're going to get me something, just something for like my house, because I still need to, I'm into decorating. That's my like hobby, interior decorating or your interior design. So
how crazy did that drive your parents? Did you move stuff around in the house ever? Because I feel like that's something that could have happened.
So I never really moved. I would switch rooms. So we had like my bedroom and then a guest bedroom. And then I would just be like, one day I'd be like, I'm not feeling it. I'm moving to the guest bedroom and I need all my stuff moved. So I would do that. That's like very only child thing to do. Very only child thing. My parents didn't have a dining room table we moved into the house when I was 5, probably till I was about 10, because I would start, so like our garage, you walk from our garage, and if you keep walking, it kind of goes to like a living room area, or like a living room into a dining room. It's kind of just like open concept. So I would prop open the garage door, start in the back of the garage, run, hurdle over the little step, say incoming, mid hurdle, and would tumble. So like this happened for years. Like I would practice my tumbling. Everyone knew, would scream, I'm tumbling. And that means you couldn't come down the stairs into like the kitchen, because that was part of I was probably round offing, like I would hit you and I wouldn't stop. So the only reason why they got a dining room table was because I did a full and almost went through the window, because it was supposed to be a dining room. So it had like a window. I almost went through the window, and my mom told me to stop. I didn't. She caught me tumbling again. And when I came home, there was a dining room table. Dining room table was only there to prevent me from tumbling, because I wouldn't stop. So that was very me growing up. I was always tumbling everywhere.
I feel like that's such a cheer gymnast thing to do. Like, no matter what age or what level you were, like, you would always just be either doing like round offs or cartwheels or whatever you could do throughout the house. I know that was definitely me and my sister as well. And I feel like little girls now I'll still see at the ballpark will just randomly be tumbling. And I think it's like ingrained in our minds now that we always have.
Even like I was at practice, I was little. I was practicing 20 hours a week pretty early on. And then I would come home from practice. I'd be there like 3. I would eat dinner at the gym. I would then condition at the gym. I would then come home from the gym and like tumble. And my mom's like, aren't you sick? Like, aren't you tired?
Oh my
And
gosh.
so when I see kids now when they're tumbling, I'm like, aren't you tired? But they're not. Which is great, because that means I was enjoying it. When I see kids tumbling at the park, they're enjoying it, which is great. That's awesome. They have a lot of energy. And I had a lot of energy growing up. Wow.
So being an only child, did you just kind of like, you had kind of the run of the house to be able to do that, huh?
Yeah, definitely. And my parents were very supportive until I almost went through the window, because that was for my safety.
Right.
Very supportive. If I wanted to tumble in the backyard, go ahead. I wanted a trampoline, they got it. You can tumble anywhere. My mom's like, just don't hurt yourself. Go ahead, have at it if that makes you happy.
Don't hurt yourself. Don't put yourself through a window. If you want to change your room, have fun. If it makes you feel better, I am also an only child, and I did the same thing, but I moved 2 floors. So my room was on the 3rd floor, and I said, no more of this. I don't want this anymore. And I took over the entire basement. Then I painted the entire thing fire engine red, painted the ceiling black, and had my friends sign my wall. Like, all of my wall was just autographs and pictures and everything.
Wow.
It was a mess.
But I think I chalk that up to just being an only child. You're bored. I was just bored a lot of the time. When I was home, you think I'd be tired or something, but I was just bored. So I'd be like, I actually painted my room baby blue. And then one day I came home and I was like, I want it pink. My mom's like, light pink. And I was like, no, like Pepto-Bismol pink. Painted the whole thing. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think they repainted it since I moved out, because it was like a little much. But people knew. I heard a neighbor say one time that when the lights were on, it shot this like pink glow into the neighborhood. It was bad. And a neighbor one time was like, oh, you're the house with like the pink.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I just chalk it up to being bored, because I didn't have siblings. And so I just like needed projects. Right?
I would rearrange stuff all the time just because I had nothing better to do. So that's very fair. That being said, when I moved into my house in Arizona, I had to repaint a room because of the fact, and this is 2 siblings used to live here. It was a guy and his 2 daughters, and one of the rooms was lime green with powder pink polka dots across the entire room. It was heinous.
Okay. Yeah, that's bad. The kid probably loved it though.
Big Taylor Swift fan. She had all the autographed merchandise. It was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing.
But I think that's such a cool part of being a kid, because you look back and I'm like, my pink room was heinous, but I loved it at the time, and I was so excited my parents let me do it. It's just part of being a kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was
So she'll look back at that room and not be thrilled at her style choice.
Yeah, I think that the Taylor Swift merchandise might actually have outdone the walls. There was an obscene, also like an absolute obscene amount of it. Better question. Here's a question: were you
Okay.
ever a big collector of anything?
No, I wasn't. I feel like I would go through phases where I would be like, I'm gonna collect again, an only child project.
Yeah.
I'm gonna collect like such and then I would like an hour later I was over it. So no, like I would collect the things that I could find it like in my house.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, project done, move on. But
Yeah.
I didn't collect anything. I want to. I think it'd be cool. I just don't think I have like I can't I don't have the stick to itiveness for like a collection of things, but maybe I'll start. I know people do like magnets. It's cool.
Those Starbucks mugs, I know people that collect them from like the different states.
That's my
Yeah.
wife.
Popular one.
She has a lot of
Your collection would kill it since you've been everywhere.
I know. I should really do something like that. Okay, we'll have to do an update and then I'll tell you what hobby with collections I picked up.
Perfect.
But for now, nothing.
No.
Ish.
Okay, so in all your travels, did you ever pick up any other languages?
Okay, so high school and college, I studied Mandarin, Chinese, and that was my minor in college. I'm a little rusty because, it takes 10 years to become fluent.
Mhm.
And I would say like for high school, I was like into it, but I probably didn't practice as much as I should have. College, I was probably conversational, and I have been to China. Do you want me to say something though? That's like the next part.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
Yes,
do it.
please.
Okay. 在北了大学我学习普通话, which means at Baylor University, I studied Mandarin. I know.
That is so sick.
I know. Except
So
I would ask the question like, can you say my name in Chinese? I'm like, so that's like not how it works. So I always have to give it, yeah.
like your name's Jennifer. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, how would you say it? I'm like, they'd probably just say your name. I don't know.
So what made you want to get into Chinese?
As an 8th grader signing up for my freshman year courses, I just thought it'd be cool. Like there's no cool backstory. It's not like I saw a movie or knew somebody. I just thought it would be cool. And my mom was mad at me because I did have a college counselor as an 8th grader. Like that was my parents. Again, they wanted me to like excel at everything. So I did have a college counselor in 8th grade. And we had to have a specific meeting about me taking Mandarin over Spanish because my mom speaks Spanish. She's Puerto Rican and Cuban, and she thought it was so important. And so I had to like have a full presentation on why I wanted to take Chinese. But I think it worked out. And when I'm done with my MBA, I'm going to start taking my Chinese like lessons again, because even after college, I did like private lessons. And so I'm going to pick that up again when I have a little bit more time. But I love the language. I love learning it. And it's confusing at first, but it's like anything. If you practice enough, you just kind of get it. And so when I'm able to take lessons, I pick it up again pretty quickly.
And then you feel pretty comfortable. I mean, so you took lessons for, let's say, a month, right? Got back into it. They drop you in the correct part of China where they speak that dialect. Would you be good to go?
I would definitely be conversational. When I went, and I knew I was going to go, and so I kind of upped my practice a little bit more, and I was able to communicate pretty well, and they said that they were able to understand me, and yeah, I'm pretty good at it, and pretty conversational, so I would be fine. I could definitely get around and order, and yeah.
Jeez. So what part of China did you go to?
I went to a tiny little town called Chongping. Probably the closest big city. I mean, I think it's like, could be wrong on this. I think it's like 3 hours from Hong Kong. Okay. But when I travel, I like to go to like the small towns. Like I want to see what the culture's like. I don't want to go to some big town that's meant for tourists. Because I mean, it's cool and it's fun and I like to stop there, but I want to go see what the culture's really like, and like the food and the people. So I was happy that I got to go to a small town. And I try to do that with everywhere I travel.
So in your travels, do you try to like go out and like wander around and try to kind of see things and explore?
Usually when I go to a different country, whoever's like hosting the event or the clinic does a pretty good job of taking me somewhere. And so I've gotten to see when I was on national team and traveling for that, like they made it clear that the main focus is like, you're here to compete and we'll take you places as long as it doesn't interfere with competition, which I totally get. And so they did a fairly good job, but I didn't get to travel as much as I wanted. Again, the focus was winning and winning a medal. So, but when I've gone to Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, China, I went to China. I've done some traveling and just exploring, and I really enjoy that.
So what's like the coolest couple things that you found while kind of out and exploring?
Oh, so in Russia, we went to St. Petersburg, and that was actually I was on national team then, but they took us to this like big cathedral. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I think I appreciate it even more now as an adult. But just the cathedral, and it was beautiful. I think the coolest thing was like in New Zealand, you'll be driving and it kind of just looks like the country. And you're like, oh yeah, like this is cool. It's beautiful. But then you'll like take a right turn and then it's just like this most beautiful beaches. And so just to see the contrast of like driving through country, you literally make a right turn and it's like just a beautiful beach. That was wild to me. So I think those are like my favorite. And then just walking around Sweden, again, just seeing the culture, like even going to a McDonald's, it's like such a different experience from being in the US. So I kind of like doing things like that to compare like both and just seeing like, how is that experience different from my normal experiences?
Right. How long ago were you in Sweden?
Sweden, I think the last time I went was 2017.
So in going to like McDonald's or any like thing that kind of had American stuff, did you ever see the Doritos say cool American flavor? Because in Iceland, when I went in 2017, I went to a convenience store and it said cool American flavor.
I don't think so.
Was it like was it like the original flavor that they called the American flavor?
No, Cool Ranch they call cool American.
Cool American flavor. No, I didn't see that. That's funny though.
Random.
Now we all have to go to another country and look for the Doritos now. I will say something funny that happened in China. I've even seen people with like Chinese tattoos and it doesn't say what they like. I saw a girl and I think she meant to say love, but it said heart, like a heart, not love. So then when I went, and so I see sometimes like shirts that have Chinese writing and I'm like, that's just doesn't mean anything, or like that. I know what you're trying to say and that's not it. But when I went to China, they had shirts with English, but it would say like butter, like something that you're just like that would like, they just picked a word, but it was funny to see because here I see that with Chinese and there I saw it with English. So that was something funny that I experienced in another country. It said like pop and I was like, oh, okay. Like, butter. And I was like, okay, I get it. That's fine. I thought that was funny. Just because you see it here all the time.
Right. That's just like a cultural thing that we don't
we don't think about it.
Jeez.
Or we think that it says something cool and it like really doesn't.
Have you ever told anyone like, hey, your tattoo or your shirt or whatever doesn't say anything? Or I know you're so nice that, or you just letting it go?
I considered it with the one, like, okay, but with tattoos, they're on you forever. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if I tell this woman that, like, she meant to say like I, which is love, instead of shin, and shin is heart. Like, I'm like, if I tell you that, you're going to be sad. So rather you just think that your tattoo is right, it's already there forever. Mm-hmm. Why would I ruin that? So I debated it, but I didn't say anything. Oh. So I was like, what is she going to do?
Yeah.
There.
Freak out.
I mean, I don't think a positive reaction would have come from it.
Yeah. That's just being considerate. Like, that's just, That's not letting someone do anything stupid. That's just being a considerate human being and thinking about the well-being of that other person.
I mean, she already did it. And like, if she was thinking about, she was at the tattoo, I might be like, hey, I would think about that. I would really look that up, but she already did it. And it kind of looked like an older tattoo. So it's been there. She's been living with it. She's been living with it. So I was like, you go on, you live your life.
Yikes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a big yikes.
Yeah. Happens though. It happens.
True.
It looked good. It looked cool.
And at least that's a positive.
A good tattoo. And for the most part, no one's really going to know.
Unless she goes to like China and then they all just look at her like she's crazy.
Unless she goes to China. So.
Well,
Yeah.
fingers crossed. And I do have one final question just because I know we're a little short on time, but for you, and I love hearing this from athletes, celebrities, whoever they are that are older now, but when you were in the prime of competing and being a cheerlebrity or whatever the phrase was, social media wasn't as huge as it is today. There wasn't TikTok, Instagram wasn't anything compared to what it is now. But you look at athletes now and see all the harassment and how everyone's just under such a microscope. What advice would you give them? Because I know you said when you had all eyes on you, you would take it personally. You know, people would talk if you messed up. So what would you tell those athletes that do take those comments and everything personally?
Yeah. And I know that's hard because, again, I like YouTube was not even where it is now, but it was like a little bit big. And I remember getting a comment saying I was too big to fly. And that really, really hurt my feelings. So I could only imagine, like, it was one comment. The rest of them were so positive, but I focused on that one comment and it really, really got to me. I remember I was at Woodward. I cried in the bathroom. It was, yeah, I don't even think people knew. It really hurt my feelings. So I couldn't even imagine what athletes go through now, because I feel like now you even have just trolls, like tons of them, just trying to make you mad or sad and trying to affect you. And I think that's just so odd to me. But I would just say, I know it's easier said than done, but don't focus on those comments, because for every one comment, negative comment, you're inspiring so many other athletes out there. And a lot of the times people are just commenting just because they're going through a hard time or they're having a bad day. And if you really sat down with them face to face, they probably wouldn't feel that way. So don't focus on that, as much as you can. Focus on the positive comments, because those are what matter. And then as long as, and this is something I think that everyone, applies to everyone. If you're happy with yourself, you're happy with your performance, you're happy with what you're doing, that's what matters most. You can't do it for other people. You have to do it for yourself and train for yourself and compete to make yourself happy. So, I mean, it's something that you have to work on. And I'm not saying those comments don't sting. They do, they hurt. But you have to know that for every one of those comments, there's a handful of people that love you and are rooting for you and supporting you, and they're looking up to you, and you're inspiring them. And so as best as you can, you just have to focus on that. Although it's hard. It really,
I know. I'm the same.
One comment and it was like over. Like, I was so sad about it.
Oh, I'm the same way. Even if somebody is just like being rude and just doing a sarcastic comment on like one of my posts, still, I'm the same way. I will single out that one. And I think most people are like that. And I know I can speak for both CJ and I. When you were in the public eye and so many people were watching you, I will say that I never heard anything bad about you, like all positives. I remember at Spirit Sports in Palm Springs, people would rush to the stage to cheer on your team, but then there were so many people that were watching because of you. So you were such a great role model. That's why I'm so glad that for everybody that wasn't in the cheer world, because it was so small yet so big when you're in it, but I'm so glad everybody gets to learn a little bit more about you, and you're amazing, and we're so honored to have you on the show. So thank you.
Thank you again. This is so much fun, and I love talking with y'all. So thank you for having me and for this opportunity.
Of course. We'll have an amazing birthday. I know COVID's a little weird for Thanksgiving, but try to have a great Thanksgiving. And we'll have to do the update with the collection and all that. So
yes, absolutely. Well, happy holidays and thank y'all.